Pisces 12, an examination of initiates. If we're sincerely on a spiritual path, and perhaps we even take initiation into a spiritual order, then what we're doing is electing to put the soul's imperatives as having a higher priority in our lives than the ego's choices. And I think many of us would say that we want to do that. We want to serve the soul before the ego. Excuse me. But saying it isn't enough. We have to be examined. And here we have this principle of examination. We're not being examined by force. This is not imposed upon us by others. We attract examinations because that's part of how it all works. When we change our way of thinking and our way of feeling, that sets up a different set of magnetisms within us. Thoughts are magnetic. They pull towards us implications of those thoughts. So if we decide to become an initiate on a path of spiritual furtherment, what we're deciding is to become examined. Not just once and we pass or fail, but constantly. We're constantly examined to see whether or not we're sincere. We have to make sure that our behaviors and our attitudes and our words and our way of being is in alignment with the claims that we make on the world. And if we make this claim that we are a spiritual person, seriously wanting to progress spiritually above all else as a primary concern, if we make that claim, well, that's going to be tested. And we're going to have to answer in some way for any misalignment where we're actually behaving inconsistently with that. So, we're not looking to become perfect overnight. That's not the point. But certain things you just don't do. You could not do once you've decided to be a highly developed spiritual person. You can't hurt anyone else on purpose. That's absurd. It's just not a rule. It's just absurd. If that's what you want to do, then you're just not ready. And so on. You know, there are certain things that you just don't do if you're a spiritual person. And we get examined. And if we actually measure up a few times, then that examination is likely to drift away. For the most part, it'll come up again one day, you know. But we deal with things and we move on and deal with something else and we move on. And these examinations take a more and more subtle level. And it's not only behavior and actions in the physical world that matter, it's how we think and how we feel. Let's say, for example, somebody's not done a job that you asked them to do, and because they didn't do it or didn't do it properly, you're seriously inconvenienced. You've had the foresight to work out what needed to happen, and you had somebody competent to do it for you, and they did it, supposedly, and you find out that they didn't do it properly. How do you feel about that? Now, if you feel angry about that, or frustrated, or blameful, then notice that, because that's not appropriate. That's not appropriate for a highly developed spiritual person. And if you feel understanding and forgiving and patient and forbearing and so on, then well done. That's your examination, you see. How do you feel in response to things that happen to you unfairly, as it were? How do you respond to injustice? How do you respond to bad luck? Does it touch your feelings? You know, do you just become more patient, more tolerant? Do you raise your game to deal with the difficulties in the world? Or do you secretly feel a bit put out of sorts. These are the kind of examinations that we're talking about. It's worth remembering that there's a price to pay for our spiritual choices. Nothing is free in life. Everything has a consequence. And our spiritual commitment costs us dear, actually. Typically, we lose the friendships and the warmth of society because we cannot be understood, because our principles differ from other people's, because we just want not to be involved in the gross shenanigans of people. We just don't want that. That's a disturbance to our focus of attention. So we tend to lose the warmth of human society. And we have to be careful, because there's a risk of getting caught up in your own self-solicitude. You know, you care about your own self too much if you're not involved with other people. And so we've that to deal with. Typically we are with other people in service, but we don't feel to be in friendship with everyone you meet. We feel kind of on the edges, really, on the margins of society. This is one of the prices that is frequently paid by a spiritual person. They get to live on the edge of things. They become marginal types and considered somewhat eccentric and so on. It's very opposite to what you would be like as a religious person. The religious person is embraced by the community, central to all that's going on, and caught up in the expectations that go along with that. A truly spiritual person would not want to be caught up in expectations at all, would not want to be subject to the lowest common denominator of a group of people, would not want to share opinions and beliefs and feelings with others, because it's not like that. Our spiritual journey is something that we really have to take alone for the most part. We can walk alongside someone else for a while, but even our teachers, really, if you don't eventually outgrow your teacher, then you've chosen the wrong teacher. A teacher is not there to take you all the way. A teacher is there, and several teachers are better than one in a lifetime, I would say. These teachers are meant to take you to the threshold. And beyond the threshold, it's your business. No teacher can take you the whole way. And so you have to know that the final examination is whether or not you can make a claim on the world which is absolutely your own. This is the way it is, and I don't care what other people think. This is, for me, the way it is. This is God. This is my path to God. This is my understanding of God. This is who I am. It works for me. I don't have any emotional upsets about it. I'm clear about everything I'm doing. This is my way. You have to get to that level of confidence beyond whatever a teacher has told you. Because even though they present themselves as being there, a teacher clearly is not beyond the attachment to the role of being a teacher. Anyone who's still breathing is attached to something, because they're attached to breath, if nothing else. But they're attached to thoughts and feelings too, typically. The exception would be a truly enlightened person, but that's not some person that you'd meet. We don't meet those people. They don't come up very often. Maybe once a century you might get one. But realized beings, you can meet those, and they'll tell you the same thing. They've realized who they are and what life is for them. That's the realization. The realization is that it's actually different for all of us. It's a subjective experience life, and we go fundamentally wrong. At the fundament of all that we see and feel and think and do, the fundament is wrong. if we feel, think, are told and believe that, it's all the same. And we just have to perceive it our way. It's not all the same. It's different for every one of us. And this will be examined on the level of alignment. If you've worked out how to be in life so that all of your bits and pieces, body, heart and soul, they're all in alignment, then you're there. That's what the game is. So you don't need to look for somebody else once you've passed all the examinations on their level. You know, you start setting your own examinations. Can I do this? Can I be free of feeling upset if that happens? Can I keep to my choice of what my life means to me? That's your final set of examinations.